We want to thank everyone for joining us today on today's call. My name is Northwelll, VP of Communications and Marketing with National Black MBA. We want to present to you Kevern Anderson, our Director of Employment, and he's going to walk us through this presentation and conversation today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kevern Anderson. I'm a part of the National Black MBA New York chapter. Also, I'm the Director of Employment. So for our committee, we help people to basically find jobs and build their career and through, getting senior management roles and also developing and maximizing their skills. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. And this is just a series, a digital series that we have weekly from our professional development and career coaching. And we try to cover various topics, including, career coaching, resume writings, interview tips, mock interviews, and a vast of different resources that can help you maximize your skill set. And being that what we're going through right now in these times, with COVID-19, I believe that these are some of the information that is very relative to today. We're in some unprecedented times that we may, people may say, and excuse me, and people are home, reflecting, thinking about where they want to go in terms of their career. A lot of people have been laid off right now. I believe the number is up to 26 million people that just filed for unemployment. That completely wiped out all the job creation that came after 2008 recession. Hint, hint, all the jobs that Obama got everyone. So now it's a time to reflect and to see where you want to go, or do you want to make a career shift in this time? What avenue you want to go to, and what are the next steps in your your life for your career and stuff. And one thing that COVID has shown us is that a lot of people are unprepared in terms of having different avenue of income or other resources. And I believe that today is that it's a great time to really reflect and to think about what you really need to do and what your next steps are. We do have two coaches that we're working with here at National Black MBA, Gisela Belinfante as well as VJ Niles, and of course I'll bring them in a conversation around what we're trying to do, talking about furlough jobs, furlough or lost jobs, information about, what they're trying to do in terms of their business, what they're seeing in various industries, the top industries that are hiring. So we're going to go over a bunch of various information, various questions, that people may be asking at home. Also, you could also add your questions as we go along. We're trying to make this as much as informative, as well as basically a conversation around what's going on in the various industries. So I do want to welcome VJ Niles and Giselle. So VJ, let's start out with you. What are you seeing in various industries right now in terms of the industries that are hiring right now? How the job market, the outlook of the job market right in our current state right now?
Well, there are some industries that are still hiring. I mean, if you're a STEM professional, they're still hiring. Whether it's, IT, a couple of engineering places are still hiring. I've seen some finance jobs still out there, some risk management ones. So kind of just depends on the field. And then we do have retail jobs that have been hiring. And I know sometimes people feel like, oh, but, I have this or that degree. I don't want to work a retail job. But if you have no job right now, it's better than nothing. And, it could be a good short-term fit. But it just really depends. There's such more remote work going on. A lot of the remote job boards are popping right now. They have more jobs up because you can no longer say, oh, you can't do that job from home. It's getting done from home. So there are still some companies that are hiring. There are some that are just kind of in between, that did furloughs, that did layoffs, but it really just kind of depends on what your background is in. And then you can kind of see what's still out there.
Absolutely. So for me, what I've seen a lot is, of course, the Amazons and, all those delivery companies, job maximizing, hiring a lot of people at this point in time. As well as, as you said, healthcare professionals as well. Gisela, being that you're in healthcare, you're also a career coach. What are you seeing in terms of the healthcare and what kind of positions they're hiring for now?
Sure. So right now, we are hiring different areas such as non-clinical, clinical positions, corporate positions, IT, finance, but very few, not as much as if we didn't have COVID, but they're out there more towards the accounts receivable side, some analysts, those areas, but we have not stopped hiring. I think what happened is the shift focused more on our clinical roles because we want to make sure that we have that clinical staff in place to make sure that we take care of the patients within the hospital, whether that's inpatient or outpatient. But we definitely have not stopped hiring. We're just doing, just to touch on like what VJ said, we're doing a lot of remote hiring where we're doing a lot of virtual interviews using a lot of different platforms.
Okay, great. I didn't touch on, I know that I didn't mention that you're a recruiter at Northwelll Hospital. So that's the company that she's talking about, but also, talk about your company as well that you do in terms of career coaching and what you're helping people out now in terms of your skill set. What are people looking for to learn now, based on what you're doing on your consultant side?
So in addition to Northwell, I do have my own resume. Is called Resume Facelift, which I could provide that information afterwards. It does provide a lot of information to basically make sure that your resume is refreshed. I think this is a great time to make sure that we definitely take part of that, to make sure that our resumes are refreshed and that we're in line with the right skill set. Some of the big skills, as I'm interviewing literally every day online, is they're looking for a lot of adaptability, right? Because as we know, in this day and age with what's going on, we need to be adaptable.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the skill set that I tell people about, like what COVID has been teaching us is that, hey, you have to be flexible. You have to have other skill set that could probably translate into different jobs if you're furloughed or if you're not working. If you have different skill set that could be transferable skill set, you definitely could to learn how to be adaptable and flexible, so you can transition to a different career. Over to you, VJ. You also run a coaching company as well, and in terms of what are you seeing on your side as well as how COVID has been affecting people, and how what are people asking assistance with on your end?
So my company's Niles Group, and I do career strategy, career coaching, and resume writing with people. I'm getting a lot of resumes right now, like a lot. Like that's a really big thing right now. People want to update their resume. I was in the middle of doing somebody's resume like maybe 3 weeks ago, and he emailed and was like, so you can change the date on my current role. I just got laid off today. So, a lot of people are like, well, let me get back out there, start job hunting. And half my clients actually have jobs and are looking, and the other half are like, I'm being furloughed, or they were already looking before COVID. So they're still just looking and, getting more resumes out there. For people that want to transition, I keep telling them this is a great time to do it. just because you can really look at your skill set, do your skills assessment, see where you want to transition into, see where your skills gap is. And now is a great time to close your skills gap, right? Because if you want to do something that, let's say you have 75% of the skills for it already, you can go learn the other 25% now because you don't have to commute to work, right? Now your commute is like the bedroom to the living room or the kitchen. So, you know, there's more time for you to maybe learn a new skill now than before. So it's a good time to consider the pivot and seeing how you can close those gaps. So I'm getting a lot of that in resumes.
Okay. So I have a quick, someone just asked a quick question. I just want to put it out there. How's this time different from the recession back in 2008? What's the differences that you're seeing?
The biggest difference is that companies are laying off rapidly right now compared to 2008. In 2008, it was a slower effect, right? It was like some industries just got hit hard, but not like just every and anybody. Whereas it just seemed like now, because nobody knows what to do, and we had no clear plan in place, or even an idea of a plan. So it just seems like a lot of companies maybe jumped the gun on firing instead of figuring out, okay, do we have any creative ways to kind of shift so that we don't have to lose all of our employees and still stay open? Whereas I think that during the 2008 recession, there was a little time to at least consider, do we have any options? Can we try to exhaust an option before we start letting people go? It's like when I got let go in 2008, I was a consultant at Deutsche Bank, and I was probably there for 3 months at that point. You know, I was just on like a temporary project, and they were like, well, you're the last one in, so you're the first one out. And then it was probably maybe 3 months after that before they actually started doing mass layoffs. So there was a little time to be like, well, what could we do? Now it's just like Chicken Little, the sky is falling. So you know what? We're just going to lay off people because we can't cover this, that, and the other. So I think that's been a huge, huge difference from 2008. It's just nobody knows like what direction to go. There's no real calm. I feel like it was more of a rush panic.
I see. So my take on that, you know, I was asked that question as well, because so much things are so like unpredictable right now. When people ask me for an opinion, like should they, you know, transition out to like a different role, or, you know, if they have a steady job, I'm telling people like, we're not too sure what's going to happen after like the economy opens up. So I'm telling people, hey, you know, just wait and see, you know, work on your skill set, you know, reach out to coaches to see what you could do to, you know, better yourself. But I am telling them to caution them, like, you know, to just jump right out, because this, you know, COVID is changing a lot of things here in terms of various industries. A lot of industries might not go back to what their, you know, their normal routine is. So a lot of companies may start, you know, focusing more on telecommuting. You know, they might shut down a couple buildings, or, you know, instead of renting, you know, real estate, they might, hey, save the money in that aspect. Also, from a talent pool, a lot of people are getting laid off now. You know, do you really want, you know, it's going to be extremely competitive in terms of finding, you know, a next job, especially if you want to transition to a different industry, a different career. So, you know, that's just my take on that. Gisela, I just want to ask you, what do you think about, like, in terms of, you know, based on what I just said, in terms of like future changes, do you think that's, you know, do you see industries going? You know, I know you're in healthcare, probably healthcare will probably stay the same, but, you know, from different industries, where do you see them, you know, adapting to the new world after COVID?
I believe now, as we start to, hopefully this pandemic, and we flatten the curve and we start to move forward, definitely we're gonna go into more of a telecommuting, a lot of Zoom, a lot of Teams. I don't know if those sound familiar to a lot of you. Skype. I think that is going to be honestly the new wave, because one thing is important is that, and I've seen it in a lot of resumes, I've been asked that a lot, being innovative is key. It's a huge skill set. And it's something that I think is an asset now, because depending on whether it's healthcare or any other role, they're going to be looking now towards being innovative. Can you be able to do your function remotely? Can you hold a meeting? Can you, do different sorts of platforms to be able to do your job effectively? Hence the reason why it's really important to put that on your resume. All of the platforms that you do use, those are things that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for, that you do have that knowledge.
Oh, definitely. Understand, definitely. So, VJ, quick question. In terms of, with this new, everyone is telecommuting, probably majority of, post-COVID, a lot of companies may, stick with that model. How do you think that will be an impact on like salaries? Would that, you think they'll cut back on terms of like how salaries are presented? Like, what's your take on that?
I think it's going to vary because a lot of companies are already doing remote work and having, telecommuting has been a thing in some industries for a long time. Like IT's been telecommuting for like what, 20 years now, almost, 15 maybe. So, and their salaries aren't low. And you can't expect people to now work remotely and pay them less because they don't have to commute. Like they still have all of these extra things right now. Like I'm not a parent, but I know so many parents, and now you're doing your job and you're homeschooling. Like you still gotta, try to maybe get some sanity in there, and then you can't always get to the liquor store. So I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot right now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or if you don't, maybe you have like older parents that you're taking care of too. Like my dad is not an invalid, but sometimes just wants me to do everything for him. So like, okay. So there's still like all these responsibilities that you still have that you're going to do while you're home. And remember before when you used to have an online meeting with somebody, you're going to jump on Zoom. It was like, make sure the kids don't come in the room, make sure the pet doesn't come in the room. And now people are holding meetings, kid here, pet here, pet just looking at you, looking in the camera. Like, so these things have changed for us. I don't think it's really it shouldn't affect salaries too much, because now for a company, if you no longer have to pay rent in a building, especially like, let's say if you're in a building in Manhattan, you're saving a ton of money, a ton. So you might as well keep your salaries the way they are, because that will still help the economy. So some industries, I think it's not going to change. Others, they're probably there's always going to be some greedy person at the top that's going to be like, well, we could pay you less because you don't have to commute. People love to tell you that. Like I live in Long Island, and I've heard that so many times out here at jobs, like, oh, but we'll pay you less in the city because you don't have to pay for the train. You don't have to commute. I got to put gas in my car. What are you talking about? Right. So you still got to offset that. So I think it's going to vary, but I think retail should definitely get an increase. I don't think you can keep paying them people like $11-12 an hour. They need a raise. But everybody else, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think, like I said, I think for those of us that are MBAs, and I would assume most of the group, I think we should be able to stay within our salaries, because if you currently have a job, whose job is asking you now to do even more that you're home? Because they somehow think that now they can put all this pressure on you, right? And there's a lot of people I've heard having this problem where they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so stressed out now. Like my boss has hit me up for deadlines for stuff that's not even, it's like a month and a half out, but my boss wants an answer on it in 2 days. So the pressure's still there to do your job at that high level. So why not keep the pace the same? That's my logic anyway.
Absolutely. So one question that did come up, I was on a call with, and I would love to hear you guys' take. So someone asked if they were due for a salary, a promotion increase just before COVID, like they have it in writing, and do you think they should, ask for it during this time, or should they wait? What's your take on that, Gisela?
It's funny you mentioned that. It's a question that we get asked a lot in HR. I believe that, so if you're already going to receive an increase, do I feel it's the right time? There is a time, and I think you just have to kind of figure out when that is. I mean, you will obviously get to have, hopefully, still those one-on-one check-in conversations with your leaders or your managers, and maybe that could be the time to ask, obviously subtly, so you're not going to just walk in there and say, hey, would you like a cup of coffee? And oh, by the way, how's that increase looking? So obviously, you know, you wouldn't say it like that, but I mean, there is a there is a time. I wouldn't put it on the back burner for the most part. If you're going to receive an increase or a bonus, that should not change because we're in COVID-19. You're still going to get it. Why? Because we still have compensation, right? We still have these analysts. All of that is still going. So nothing is changing. They're not removing that off the table because we're specifically in a crisis. I would think more so what we're seeing is that you're getting the increase, but there's also room for bonuses, and there's also room for all the extra added ins because of the crisis. Like, you know, there's crisis rate, there's crisis bonuses, things of that nature. So I wouldn't say it's the wrong time to ask. I think it's just about how we act.
Absolutely. Well, a funny thing, I just saw your company just gave out a lot of bonuses. So congratulations to that, you know, hazard pay. So that's, you know, that's definitely great. I do have one question from Carla. So she said pre-COVID, a lot of companies had adopted the WeWork open floor space concept. How do you think that this will change, if any, in the future?
Oh, I hope they get rid of it. I was never a fan of the open floor because the one thing I always said was like, it's just a breeding ground of germs, right?
Yeah.
One person coughs and like the whole row of people is now sick because one person coughed. So I think now, like, even some companies I've talked to, you know, talking to even some call center customer service people, like they've scattered them out now just to keep the 6 feet, 20 feet from each other for that reason. So I don't think open floor plans are going to work anymore. I think we might be back to the days of the cubicle. So at least when you cough, you can hit that wall and hit back to you and you don't have to infect everybody else.
Sure, absolutely. Before we move, I just want to make sure that if we have any more questions or anything like that. I do have one other question here from Alicia. What advice would you give to someone who accepted a role and had a start date set at a new company, and then the job offer was abruptly rescinded because of COVID? What would you, Gisela, if you want to take that one?
Yeah. So she was given a job offer and then it was rescinded because of COVID.
Yeah.
I would definitely, I would follow up on that, but also just again being a little bit flexible because right now we have offers that are going out, and our offers are going out. They're going out way in advance, so we're kind of hiring for, let's say, August and September. And that might change, and it has changed, where we're moving the dial and we're saying, you know what, it's not going to work right now. We just need you to be flexible, give us some time, we'll reach back. So in an instance like that, I would definitely stay close to the recruiter or whoever you're working with to let them know that you're still interested. Don't just give up hope that it's just false hope. And the reason why is because you want to stay prepared. In the event that now they rescinded it at this time, that does not mean that they're not going to move forward with you. And a matter of fact, they're just probably rescinding it because of, obviously, there's an emergency that they're dealing with, and they can't attest to that department at the time. But again, I would definitely just stay close to the recruiter, let the recruiter know, you know, time to time checking in. I always say checking in is great. You have to keep your hand on the pulse, because if you don't and you're not prepared, you're gonna miss it. So I wouldn't, to Alicia's point, I wouldn't be too frantic about it. Because in a matter of fact, I did an offer today and I hired the person for September. We are in April. So just go figure.
Yeah, similar to my job as well. We're kind of on a freeze as well, but you know, they've had people in the pipeline already that we're kind of holding off until, you know, late June, July or so to hire them. You know, if anything's not going on with COVID right now, the mayor's office is like holding off on them for right now. So do we have any more questions? So guys, just make sure you put your questions in the chat. Okay, so if anything, we could just move on. So let's, you know, we could definitely shift gears. You know, and we could speak about mostly about what do you see for the foreseeable future in terms of COVID? Like, where do you see like industries going in terms of new industries that may pop up? One take for me is that I believe that robotics might be more, will be something that will be, emphasized in the future. Because a lot of delivery companies, I know, artificial intelligence, all these things may be, they already have the industry, but they may be on the forefront right now. So what other industries do you think, that may, that may change over the time and stuff, or new industries that may pop up? VJ, do you have any take on that?
I think the STEM fields are going to be the biggest, definitely, because, between science, technology, engineering, and math, like that's our way of life, right? So the more you can come up with ways to use technology to help us get back some of the normal we lost, the happier people will be. We're probably going to see more video platforms coming up, because like virtual events, right? If you were hosting an event in person, now you got to do it visually, virtually. So it's kind of like, what's out there besides like Zoom and Skype and, 2 or 3 others, but there are other types of platforms out there that do offer different types of experiences. So I think we're probably going to see the rise in those, probably a rise in something within the supply chain, right? There's got to be something else there because that's, they're very essential right now. So I think there's going to be like a lot of different little improvements in so many different fields. And it's even though it's a hard time, there's a lot of opportunity out there if you get a little creative, right? There's definitely opportunity out there. If you can just kind of quiet the noise and just listen, you'll probably hear a problem that you might have a solution to, that you can start working on and kind of help get something going, because that's what people need right now. If you can provide something that makes them feel good right now or helps them in some way, there's opportunity for it.
Absolutely. And normally when there's a, major, anything that major that happens in the world, whether it's the, the technology, how technology gets better, it creates like, creating like, development, innovation, creativity comes out of it. Gisela, do you have any take on this? Like, what industries do you see that may change? One thing that has come up, I've seen, is telemedicine. So that's a big thing now with a lot of companies. It's a growing industry now. That pretty much came out of what's happening now with COVID. But do you have any other takes on that? Like, what anything that may develop out of this pandemic?
Yeah, just to touch on that, telehealth is something that is going to be huge. It is going to soar. It's starting now, but throughout the rest of this year, because as we know, we possibly might have around 2 of this. So it's definitely going to soar. And that's not just for the physicians, right? Because usually you would go into the doctor and you would see the doctor. Now telehealth is basically we're doing the virtual, I'm speaking to the doctor can send in my medication, and now we can have medication delivered to you, right? So there's someone behind that has to put that together, which again, to VJ's point, that's the IT technical team. So that's why that area is also going to increase huge. For Northwell itself, because obviously, we were at the forefront and still are. COVID right now, the clinical trials and the testing and things of that nature, and getting all this space planned. And so one area that I would say would probably be, believe it or not, the facilities and the environmental team, the ones that are creating a lot of the space. So basically, if you have done any type of construction work or any type of building, they're now pooling that together so that we'll be able to create more spaces and provide more areas in the future, but kind of start from now. So that's also another area that they're looking into that is starting to build up. And just to touch on that as well, Kevern, not just the healthcare industry, but what's happening is that these positions, that they're putting together that are going to store. They're not waiting. They're starting to test the water now. So they're doing a lot of, like, for example, we had to do a, 24-hour hiring spree, which was in partner with Governor Cuomo with the state, where we had to hire, let's say, 300 people in 24 hours. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was something that we did put out on LinkedIn. Indeed, we advertised it, and these were for entry-level positions. People like, you mentioned that were furloughed and, or someone else that's looking for some supplemental income. And we hired from, housekeeping down to, the clerical staff, paid them a crisis rate. And we basically hired them within a 2-week span, which is very quick, as we know, when it comes to the onboarding process.
Absolutely. So you're saying that, even from like a cross-functional aspect, so now more creativity, more innovation will have to come from your IT department, your marketing department, all these other departments would have to find other ways of being, innovative to get these different directives going, or these different strategies going as well, correct?
Yes, whether it's a large organization or even small businesses, like the way to go, and they'll see it. I mean, we're non-for-profit, but you'll see the splurge start to increase. Like I said, it's already started now. And I know for Northwell, we definitely post a lot of our jobs on LinkedIn. Whether it's a 24-hour pop-up, same thing that's going to happen. Airlines, for example, right? The airline industry, we're looking at that, see what's happening with the airline industry, how it's taken a major impact. It's going to bounce back as it has before. Okay, we all know that. And when it does, they're going to do the same thing, where it's going to be a massive, hiring, where they're, trying to get their flight attendants, for example, and their ground ops and their airport operations, and they're going to be trying to get them, ramped up to get the flights back up to speed. So it's something that I wouldn't think is going to come later. It's actually going to come a little sooner, because they're already in plans for that. Okay,
great. So it's funny you mentioned airplane. I saw a few, they had a LinkedIn post where they showed people, pivoting, like doing different career, even though they were pilots, they want to make sure that they were doing other things that, using their other skill set that were transferable, which is very interesting. So just going, I just want to take a leap to talking about, finding jobs now. Normally people, the normal thing is to, hey, they network, going to different events. Right now we're stuck at home. We can't really go to the events right now. Right now, probably when the place opens up, people are still going to be a bit skeptical in going places, networking and stuff. Meeting people. So what, and this goes to you, VJ, what ideas or what do you see people could do in terms of networking or looking for jobs? Like, what strategies could people use to look for jobs now?
So it's so funny that you say that, because I actually have a free course called Bonding in a Virtual World, because you still need to network, right? So I'll grab the link and put it in the comments for you guys in a few minutes. But basically, you want to set up Zoom calls or WhatsApp, whatever's your preference, and still reach out and talk to people. Now is a great time to check in with people. If you have not been on LinkedIn, like in the last year that much, now is the time to really get on there and engage and reach out to people. I know somebody had asked, are career coaches and recruiters receptive to cold requests on LinkedIn? Yes, they are. We get them all the time. I've gotten a lot of clients who were cold requests. Somebody actually came to me because they said you referred them to me, Kevern, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't remember who it was, because I get a couple of those a day of like, just, how can I do this? How can I do that? So you want to reach out to people and have little chats, like little informational meetings, like, hey, I see you do this. So, I'm in this industry, you're in that industry. I would love to hear how you made it to where you are, right? You can talk to somebody who's like, if you want to go up the next level, talk to somebody who's up the next level and ask them, what did you do to get there? And start building those relationships, because we all know most jobs aren't posted, right? Even though now they're probably posting more jobs than ever, but you still want the inside track. right? If you can still get your resume to a person and not just going into the cloud, it's a good thing. So it's a great time to reach out to people. I would say, you know, reach into your network on LinkedIn, like go through your connections. And if there's people that you're like, I don't even remember who this is, just send them a message. Hey, I see we're connections and I know we haven't talked in a while, but I'm just checking in, see how you and your family are doing with COVID and, you know, how's life treating you right now? Are you okay? Like something as simple and as human as, are you okay? Will go such a long way, such a long way. And you can just, you know, you still need to, even though we're physically distanced, we don't have to have social interactions. Like we can still have those. Just use technology, whatever it is. If it's FaceTime, if it's WhatsApp, if it's Zoom, if it's Google, you know, whatever. Like just still do the virtual event, still just reach out to people and just say, hey, how you doing? And don't be afraid to do a virtual happy hour. You don't have to drink, whatever's your drink of choice. Look, I got my nice bottle of water here, right? Have a cup of tea, you know, have a virtual coffee. Everybody grab your favorite coffee beverage, grab the cat, the dog, the kid, whatever, and talk to somebody. Like, you know, you still have that. Now is such a human touch kindness time that you can really take advantage of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gisela, do you have any take on?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I just wanted to let everybody know is that when you, let's say when you do start the hunt again and you're, you know, you're out there and you're looking, whether it's LinkedIn and you're setting up these virtual interviews, it is quite okay to say on that interview, full disclosure, my children or the elder that I'm taking, whatever's going on may come in contact somehow with the interview. They might be on a Zoom teaching class platform and they might hear the noise. It is perfectly okay. Because right now we know that every child is home from school. And it's something that we notice is happening a lot. I mean, when we interview, we're hearing the children walking by and it's okay. I don't want anybody to feel, you know, frantic or say, oh my gosh, I didn't get the interview. That's not anything that's gonna take away from you. So that's something important that I definitely wanted to stress. And again, LinkedIn, I always plug in LinkedIn because it's the best professional platform that we have right now. I don't think anything comes close to it. Just be mindful and just allow time when you do reach out to the recruiter or a career coach, because remember, they are getting they're getting a lot of hits. So just allow some time, because sometimes we don't get back to the individual within that, you know, exact moment. You know, I might reach out to someone like 4 days after, or on the weekend if they reached out to me on a Wednesday. But don't feel like, you know, we're not reaching out to you. Just allow some time, only because it's just a lot going on right now. So sometimes it might be like a delay.
Yes, can I just second that? Like, please give us time. Please.
Yeah, I actually do agree with those sentiments. I've done that also, like in the last couple of weeks as well, even this week. Just reaching out to people, checking on them. You know, you know, even though if I'm passively looking for positions or not looking for positions or actively looking, it's good to use this time to check on people and just kind of start back the dialogue with folks. In terms of, you know, how they're doing, you know, how COVID is affecting them. And, you know, and just start by the dialogue and then, you know, go from there in terms of, you know, maybe a couple of days, you know, start talking to them again. And then you let them know, hey, you know, I'm looking for this industry, or you may see someone on their profile, you know, where you can reach out later in this industry. I want to get into this industry. You know, what do I need to do? You know, what steps do I need to take to get in this position? So, you know, speaking to that, if someone is in an actual career, say they're, you know, I know the questions came up, if they're in finance and they want to go over to, I say healthcare or tech, what strategies should they use? What pointers do you have to give people that is looking for a career switch even in these times?
Well, I mean, if they're going to stay in the same role and just change industries, you can always look for a finance job within healthcare. So you can still do that. Now, if you want to switch completely because maybe you got furloughed or maybe you got laid off and you're thinking, you know what, I've been thinking about this career change to, something completely different, and you're thinking about it now, the first thing I always tell people to do is a skills assessment. Like literally write down everything you know. And sometimes you don't even realize what you actually know. Write it all down. Your hard skills, your soft skills, negotiations, innovation, communications, like write it all down. Then look at the field that you want to go into and see what are the requirements for it. And then just do a comparison. Do I have this? Oh, wait, no, I actually have that. I have that. I have that. And I have that. Right? Like, let's say you do project management. Every industry needs project management. It doesn't matter what industry it is. Now, if it's on the IT side, they want more technical skills with it. So if you're a non-IT project manager and you want to switch to IT, take some time to take a couple of programming classes now, just so you get familiar with the industry, right? And there are a couple of sites that are doing free classes on stuff. So see who still has free classes going. Like Corsica has some free classes. 365 Data Science was doing their data science certification free, but I don't know if they extended the deadline, but it might have ended last week. But you can always check all of these different online platforms that do courses and see who has what available that you can take. So I would be like, how can I close my, how can I close my gap? And then from there, that's usually how I go skills gap, how I'm going to close it. Then I start networking with people and then take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, great. That's good. So for what I normally tell people is that, if they want to transition, they have to make sure that they do the work in terms of finding out what they really need to get, what they really want to do in terms of what career choices they want to make, what career they want to transition into, and then, try to do the work in terms of finding out more about, that career path. And a lot of times what I do recommend to people, there are a lot of courses out there that you could take. So IT courses, you may take a course online. It may be a course that, and there's a lot of cheap courses online now, that you could take. But if you want to go into management, business management, I let them know that, hey, it's great to get a master's degree, an MBA, to if you want to take that leap, that step, if you want to go into management, if you want to run a unit, a department, a regional office, I tell people that, don't forget about, trying to get into a master's program or an MBA program, during this time as well. So, that's great. So, what I want to transition into, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah,
just to add to that too, if you're trying to do any type of changes, whether you're in the role or you've never been in the role, it's a key thing that I know for Northwell is something that we definitely push and we look for. Please do not discredit your transferable skills. I've heard you say it. I echo that. That's like the biggest thing, and I want to just push that. Transferable skills are so important. When we're looking at candidates and we're going through their resumes, you could be amazed at things that you missed that you have. And those transferable skills, whether you're putting it on your cover letter or you're building it into your resume, shows. So please, please, please don't forget, if you have never been in that industry or that position, but what you're doing, you feel that it's relatable, definitely just articulate that in your resume and please showcase that as a transferable skill.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I tell people. Also tell people like, hey, this is a great time to work with career coaches as well, because at times people don't know how to articulate their transferable skills. They may miss it. So I always tell them, hey, it's always good to, reach out to a career coach, help them to guide you in terms of where to go and how to show those transferable skills, on your resume as well. So what I want to get into, one more thing I want to get into is, now that everyone is home, what should people be working on right now in terms of, their career? Like what tips do you give people, or what ideas do you give people in terms of what they should be working on right now? So before you guys start, I can tell you right now I'm working on getting my certification, my SHRM certification. That's something I'm studying for, signed up for as well, just to get more accredited in the HR field, because that's my love and my passion. But what other skills would you tell people to work on? Like, also one more thing I want to touch on is next after that I'm going to be working on, some coding as well. It's, just something just to try to understand and try to get more, acclimated in that industry. But yeah, VJ, what, let me go to you first. What should people be working on right now?
First thing I tell people is to work on their mindset. Make sure that their mental health is okay first, because for some people, change is not easy. And so if you're a person that change is not easy, the first thing you need to do is figure out something that makes you okay so that you can do the change. And then from there, if you're a person that change isn't bothering you and you're like, okay, I have everything else I need, I just need to like latch on to something for my sanity. But some people just need that, like keeping busy keeps them sane or what have you. That's when I'm like, well, look at the skills that you have and what do you want to improve on, right? And now this is the perfect time to start looking at those courses for your certifications, like you said, looking at some form of an IT class, because no matter how much you don't like technology or love technology, it's here to stay, right? If you were in school in the 90s, remember people were like, oh, that whole internet thing isn't going to last. Look where we are now, right? So don't be afraid of looking at technology and seeing, what there is. And then it's also a good time to work on your interpersonal skills, right? So you can do some leadership development now, take some courses in that. If you want to learn a foreign language, have fun with it. You and one of your kids, hell, even a dog, start learning a foreign language together. It just depends on what the person, industry-wise, what they want to do. For some of my clients, their next step is the entrepreneur path. So I'm like, okay, so start looking at some things that can help make you a better business owner when you're ready to launch your business. So if marketing isn't your thing, go learn about digital marketing right now, so that you're not going to be able to hire somebody to do this just yet. So at least you'll learn about it and know what to do when you launch.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about you, Gisela? What do you recommend right now for people to work on?
Sure. So just to tap into that, I echo that, Kevern. I'm actually taking my SHRM as well. So kudos on that. The SHRM is great for HR, but in addition, all the certifications classes right now, whether it's finance, computer, medical field, they are at a discounted rate. I stress that. I'll say that again. It is at a discounted rate right now. So while we are home, and a lot of them have different payment programs, so it's not something that you have to come out, one time with those fees. Those are definitely courses to take. Something as simple as, to be honest with you, we're on a computer, but sometimes we don't know the whole aspect of Microsoft Office Suite, right? And I know that's something that we use all the time, right? We have the new Outlook. I know I have the new Outlook here. And when I first got it, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? This is different. And we're simple Outlook, simple Word that we used to have. So even if, taking an Excel course or a PowerPoint course, I stress that as well. PowerPoint, because it ties into, again, when we're doing a lot of virtual interviews and you have to do a presentation, you have to put it on PowerPoint and load it up, right? So a lot of those courses are available, and whatever your soft skill or your hard skill is, I would definitely follow that and take that as far as which certification or which schooling that I'm going to look into. Because it necessarily doesn't have to be a certification. You can go back, let's say, for your master's, your doctorate, anything that would basically set you apart from anybody else. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're looking to do. The industry is going to become competitive, and it doesn't matter if it was 5 years ago to now, it's competitive. Regardless, now that we have virtual, it's going to be competitive. So you want to make sure that whatever you're taking, that you're outlining that on your resume to show that you stand out.
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing I also tell people to work on right now, because like I said, this came as, we weren't prepared for this. A lot of people weren't. So a lot of people didn't have as much saved up. A lot of companies didn't have as much saved up. So I do recommend, looking at other streams of income. I know people always preach about it, but this kind of really, really showed like people really trying to, you need to have that other stream of income, and not just the 9 to 5, not just a regular, paying job, just have another form of income, whether it's, you get into the stock market or, real estate or, whatever, avenues, online stores or something like that, that may pop up, more online stores that may pop. But just think about what you could do now in terms of adding another stream of income. So if and when, another pandemic or another, thing that may shut down the whole world, not just the country, comes around, you'll be able to be well prepared, more financially stable. So, that's something that one of the key things that our chapter is focusing on right now is about financial literacy as well, and also entrepreneurship. We normally have, along with this series that we have, talking about, job development, coaching, we also talk about financial literacy, and our partners with NASDAQ and CBRE, BIC, and why we, work with them to bring as much information, as much resources to our members, as well as anyone that's listening right now, just to learn something new, learn something where you could basically, have some monetary value and have, a competitive advantage, so that's another nugget that I want to leave with you. Do we have any questions from the audience? Anyone wants to ask any questions? Just to get into to see, any questions around what was discussed, any statements or any ideas or anything. It's always good to, share as well. Okay, no, I think everyone kind of asked whatever question they needed to ask. I'm not seeing anything coming up on the chat. Okay, so but before we close, if we just could get some closing statement from both you and before we start, I actually just got one question. How important is the cover letter in the application process now? What's your take on that, guys?
I personally hate cover letters, but some companies want them, they love them, they want to see them. When I was a recruiter, it was just like, I'm just sending this to the hiring manager because I'm going through too many resumes. I'm not reading that too. Because most of the time when I get a cover letter and I would glance at them, it was just basically a summary of what was on the resume. Mm-hmm. So it was like probably for every 100 cover letters I got, one was like a good cover letter that was worth reading. The rest were just a kind of summarized thing. And only one or two would be an explanation of a career change or why somebody pivoted or something that added value. So if you're going to write a cover letter, let it add value. Now, if the job requests it, then you write one. And some jobs do it just to see if you follow instructions. And some companies, they love to read them. Some people are like, if the person took the time to write it, I'm going to read it and blah, blah, blah. But I would send it more to, if I'm applying online, I wouldn't send it to a recruiter because 90% of the recruiters don't read them. They're bombarded by too many resumes. Outside, not a recruiter that's not with a specific company. Yeah,
absolutely. What about you, Gisela? How do you feel about cover letters?
So as a recruiter and a career coach, we're going through probably, I don't know, maybe 100 resumes a day. So the cover letter would only be important if, again, touching on those transferable skills. If we look at a resume, for example, and the resume does not have anything to do, the candidate has nothing to do with that position, that is where that cover letter comes in. Because that's what I would do. I would definitely say, wait a second, I noticed that they don't have any direct experience, but then I'll flip over and see that the cover letter is there and the cover letter is explaining it. The only thing I would say that, again, if you're writing the cover letter, just make sure you're not copying it from a free website, because I've seen a lot of that. So try not to copy that from a free website. Cover letters are supposed to be personal. Just always remember that, right? It's almost like that elevator pitch, and that's usually what I would tell my clients. It's like that elevator pitch, but instead of it being verbally, it's written, right? So that would be like cover letter. You're explaining exactly that I have these transferable skills from a position that's not listed on my resume, hence the reason why I'm applying. So yeah, if it's not related to that, then the cover letter is really not necessary, but only if you're switching fields or completely have no experience at all, that would help.
Great. What I would say is that a lot of times companies use resume cover letters to like see the writing skills. You know, you have times where they'll look at, you know, they'll ask for specific writing skills or composition or communication and writing, but at times they look at it. Majority of the time, even at my job, when we get, you know, we normally just look at the resume. Like, we don't really pay attention to the cover letter or anything like that. So I have another question that came over. What recommendations do you have for leading a virtual meeting? You guys have any pointers?
Can you expand on that? Like, what do you mean by leading a virtual meeting in terms of like you're presenting for a team, or?
Yeah.
Are we talking about in that capacity?
I'm thinking more than likely it's that capacity in terms of, you know, if you're leading a team in project management or, you know, some type of
Project management.
You know, you're the leader of the Zoom virtual meeting.
I would say, one, you want to set the precedent of letting people know what's the Zoom, what's that word I'm looking for? Etiquette. That's it. The Zoom etiquette, right? You know, make sure people know not to go to the bathroom with their cameras on and be unmuted. I don't know if you guys saw that video of a team having a meeting and one person is literally carrying her laptop down the hallway and she goes into the bathroom and they can see her sit on the toilet. So make sure you don't have that happen. That's key. So you want to do etiquette and make sure that people don't talk over each other and kind of make sure the flow goes and call out names for people so that you don't just have a bunch of people talking all over each other at the same time. So like the etiquette is very important for virtual meetings.
Absolutely. What about you, Gisela?
I actually do a lot of virtual meetings currently, obviously with Northwelll. So what I do is, whether I'm using Zoom, Teams, I don't know if everybody's familiar with Teams yet. They should be, because we're going to soon start moving away from Zoom for privacy reasons, and we're going to start moving to Teams within companies. But what I would do is just make sure that everything is set up from the beginning. If you're going to have your slides, right, where you're going to be sharing, because I do a lot of sharing presentations, make sure, because sometimes you have technical issues, you know, where you're testing, making sure that everything is ready to go. You do have the ability to control everyone's mic. I don't know if you know that. So a lot of the platforms, we can control their mics. So we can basically shut off everyone, which would allow just the speaker to now have the floor. And then once you're ready, now you can, you know, allow everyone in. Sometimes if it's too loud or you kind of feel like it's you know, staring away, getting a little bit out of the norm, you can kind of bring it back that way. But I would just say, just make sure that the etiquette is there. I would verbally say it and also have it on the deck on the presentation so that everybody sees it. And then again, just making sure your slides and everything are ready to do your presentation, because you want to look like you're set for success. You want to look like you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. One question came up, and being that you're working as a recruiter now, maybe you want to take this one as well, Gisela. Are recruiters looking at resumes after it's already been scrubbed by ATS?
So when you say scrubbed, I think that goes on an it pertains to a different organization, right? Because each organization is different. So for example, Northwelll, we don't scrub anything except the floors when we're trying to clean and things of that nature. But we don't scrub any resumes. Our resumes live. They're a breathing, living document, and it lives in our ATS system. And a matter of fact, not only does it live there, but we do a lot of sourcing techniques and pipelining techniques that we go back. So basically, if we see that the candidate actually had the skill set and could be someone that we can use value to a skill, we reach out. Like, we're reaching out to candidates that have already applied, let's say, a year ago, and we're just, a cold call, but we're just calling them to say, hi, are you still interested? We just want to have a position. So to answer your point, Carla, looking at resumes regardless, whether you've applied 6 months ago, 1 year ago, currently, it just lives in our database, and we kind of have it, kind of separated by our sourcing technique.
Okay, I have one more question, and that's it. What are your recommendations for starting a new job virtually? VJ, if you want to take this one. In project management, actually, they're asking. That's the last question.
Are you already in project management, or are you trying to transition into project management?
She didn't say on that one, but
I mean, if you're trying to transition, I would say, one, you got to start looking at your transferable skills. You're already in it. Okay, so now you want to start doing it virtually. I would still just kind of be looking and networking for project management roles. If you already have the skill set, if it's a technical project management role, there are still plenty of those out there. If it's a non-technical one, you just have to see which industries are still hiring right now, who's not on a hiring freeze, and just start reaching out to people. Honestly, every job hunt is the same. You got to start with making contact, right? You need to look at what industries you want to be in, if you're open to changing industries, just kind of reaching out and looking for those places, and then talking to people in the companies that you're interested in working in to see if they're hiring. And if they are, set up like an informational meeting with somebody, which is just like a Zoom, and just say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about the company, and, do you enjoy it, and how are they handling the crisis? Because this really will show the level of leadership of any company right now, is if you ask their employees, how are they handling the crisis? We talk about company culture. Now we know about company culture. How are you handling this crisis?
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, guys. So just before we cut off, I just want to know if you guys have any closing statements and tips or anything before we go. If you guys want to plug your company again, that'd be good.
Since I'm unmuted, I guess I'll start. My company's the Niles Group. I did put it in the comments. It's just thenilesgroup.com. I do career strategy, career coaching. Career pivots are my thing. I've done it 4 times, so I don't give you theory and pie in the sky advice. And try to keep your head up. I know it's hard times out there. There is a little light, even though it might seem really dark. Don't be afraid to take a job right now doing something that's not your worth, because it's just short term. You don't have to think of it as, oh, but I'm going to be stuck in this and I'm too good to work in retail or what have you. Like, if you have a car and you have a phone and you're taking precautions and you want to go like do Instacart or Amazon Flex or something, go do it. It'll make you some money. If that's like your big concern right now, then it's easier for you to job hunt when you know you got food coming in, right? Because when you're hungry, it's hard to job hunt. Then you have this very desperate energy. So just try to find a little hope out there, and, just keep looking into the light. It'll get better, and stay safe.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Gisela? Closing statement?
Sure. You can reach out to me. I did put it in the comments on LinkedIn. My company's resume, Facelift. I would say definitely keep your hand on the pulse and be prepared. Because you don't be that individual that misses out on what's coming. It's gonna come, and you just don't want it to surpass you. And as far as taking positions on right now, if the position is not in your field and you're being offered a position, if you think about it, you really have nothing to lose, because you only have to gain, because basically you're going to be getting income coming in while while we're on time right now. And then, whether this is a second job for you or this is the job because you had furloughed, it's still something for now. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop applying. You'll still be applying for positions, but at least you'll have something secured. right? So it's better to have something now than not have anything and still be looking. So like VJ said, don't feel like, you know, I'm taking a position at Amazon. I mean, there's positions right now where you can actually be at home doing customer service. So you don't even have to leave your house. So I just wanted to mention that if you don't have a car, because I know a lot of people don't have a car. If you're living in Brooklyn or Manhattan, you might not have a car. So you might take public transportation. So you can actually do a job where you're doing customer service for, you know, different retail stores, Target and, you know, all these other clothing stores. They're hiring customer service reps that are taking your orders because people are still shopping. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Again, stay safe. Definitely reach out to us. And remember, we don't bite. We're here to help at any cost. Doesn't matter.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Kevern Anderson. I am a HR consultant at Symplexi.co. Do HR consulting as well as work at the mayor's office as well as the HR manager. Right now, I want to turn it right back over to our VP of Communications, Mr. Northwell Barrington.
We want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. National Black MBA is dedicated to our members in our network. We currently have about 1,000 jobs, well, actually about 3,000 jobs that are posted on our national site. As a member, you have access to this information from a chapter perspective. We have a number of jobs from our corporate partners that we will be emailing out to our members. We want to thank our special guests, VJ, Niles, and Gisela, for these, not only these key tips, but also how to motivate and how to get our members and network ready for career opportunities. And please reach out to them. We will send out a survey with their contact information. Thank you, Kevern Anderson, Director of Employment. This is one of many webinar series that we have reaching lifestyle, entrepreneurship, small business opportunities, career coaching, career mapping, and also making sure that we focus on financial literacy. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for joining the National Black MBA Metro New York chapter.